Continuing with the Tom Cruise theme, I took a look at Netflix's offering of An Interview with the Vampire. No, or is it Interview with the Vampire? Anyways, this is a Tom Cruise film. Kinda. He gets top billing. But Tom Cruise is not really the star. Quite obviously, the star is Brad Pitt. He's the lead. And he plays this guy who was a down in the doldrums plantation owner on the bayou. And when the hell was this? I think it might have started out maybe late 1700s, early 1800s. Can't recall. His wife had died during childbirth, and so he was seeking people to kill him, basically. Like maybe he was cheating at cards, and a guy pulls a gun on him, things like this. But instead, he gets attacked by a vampire, played by Tom Cruise, named Lestat. And by the way, Brad Pitt's character is Louis. Lestat. Anyways, I'll just call them by their first names that we know. Brad Pitt doesn't die during the attack, and he doesn't turn into a vampire immediately. And he's telling the story to... God damn it. Christian Slater. Okay. He's telling the tale to Christian Slater in modern times. And this is the interview. This movie has a hard time defining the rules of the vampire because something won't make sense, and then it'll be like, they asked Tom Cruise, how should I know? And he's like, well, you're the one who started telling me the rules. You don't know all the rules? So there's this stuff about if the vampire sucks the blood out of them, they can only drink living blood. As soon as somebody's dead, you can't drink the blood anymore. Which is some bullshit. And Christian Slater's kind of grilling him about the crucifixes and garlic, and he's like, no, none of that stuff works. Sunlight's an issue. Well, do you have coffins? Unfortunately, we do have a lot of coffins. So the coffin stuff seems like nonsense. It's almost too funny to be like, oh, hey, we have to get in our coffin tonight. And this movie takes itself so damn seriously, too. It's based on a 70s novel by Anne Rice. They did some other vampire movies. I think there might have been one or two more in the series. Neither of which has, Brad Pitt showing back up, or any of that. But this was a fairly big hit. It made over $200 million because of mostly the star power. You have just like this, not just a trinity, but a quadrilogy of hot guy at the time in the box office. Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, a little bit of Christian Slater here and there, and then later on, you even have Antonio Banderas. In 1994, this is like Brad Pitt and Antonio Banderas are the big thing going. Well, maybe along with Keanu Reeves. I mean, these are really banner years for them. So, as he's learning about the vampire stuff, like as he gets turned, it's just some matter of he got bit, but now if he drinks the blood of Tom Cruise, he can turn into a vampire, and he's locked in at 24 years old or so, and has some super speed. Has to do everything at night. Has some veiny issues. And very bright green eyes, and he sees the world differently, like the statue of his dead wife at her grave comes to life and kind of like smiles at him and shit. Now, I didn't know that was a power of the vampires, but they mentioned that like these vampires each have a unique talent. Tom Cruise might be able to read some minds, maybe there's some other ones who can read some minds, whatever the hell. And it also makes it sound like only Tom Cruise can turn others into vampires. Like, is this earned through being a vampire for a period of time? It didn't make a whole ton of sense to me. But Brad Pitt is although he took the offer to become a vampire, he's quite reluctant to live up to the lifestyle, the expectations. He doesn't want to kill anybody. He seems to bite some people on occasion, but not in the way to kill them outright. Whereas Tom Cruise is just like, oh hey, rich people, rich blood, cool, I'm drinking this shit. Screw them. So Brad Pitt's mostly feeding on like rats and doves and pigeons and whatever the hell. Scares his slaves. He tells them to get out of there. Also, I may be pronouncing wrong. Is it Thandie Newton or Tandy Newton? She's one of the slaves at Brad Pitt's place, and Tom Cruise in the same scene and shit. Those two were in Mission Impossible 2 together. And I just saw a Mission Impossible movie. Yeah, it's coming full circle here, bitch. So, damn it, I'm getting kind of thirsty. I'm gonna have to have me a Mountain Dew. There we go. I hate it how you open a can, and the first thing that happens is your finger that you used to open the can with is going to get soaked in whatever it was. Shit. Well, the interview process is pretty nonchalant, so Christian Slater's, hardly in the film, really. So you're a Christian Slater fan of the early mid-90s. I wouldn't be checking this out for him. I know I'd seen bits and pieces of this movie before. I didn't realize Antonio Banderas was in this. But also in the cast, Kirsten Dunst might be her first role. She's this girl whose mom just died of the plague. And Brad Pitt is hungry and he feeds on her. But he feels really bad about this. And then Tom Cruise decides to turn her into a vampire. I think they said her name was Claudia. I'm going to go with Kirsten Dunst. So she becomes like the third one to be the group here. And eventually she's like a little girl, like maybe 10 years old, for a period of about 30 years. And she wants to become a woman, but she'll never become a woman. She even like hides a dead body among these dolls. And it's kind of like, how did nobody smell any of this shit? And she's a real troublemaker. She doesn't like Tom Cruise because he's controlling and creepy, I guess. I don't see how he's too much different in the way he acts towards her than Brad Pitt, but she views Brad Pitt as her real dad or so, and she can't remember much before she became a vampire, which I find really weird because it's not like Brad Pitt can't remember his life. So it just didn't make a ton of sense right there. But anyways, she plants this... she kills some twin boys and then like poisons their blood, and they'd been dead for a while, but Tom Cruise didn't realize, and he tries to feed on them, and it's like, you're feeding me dead blood. Oh shit. Okay, get me to my coffin. I think I'll be okay. So it's like his coffin rejuvenation chamber, but they're like, oh hell with that, and she like cuts him up and shit. Slices his throat, and he's bleeding out like crazy. They go and bury him in the swamp, and it looks like some crocodiles or alligators ate him. And then they take off, and they're looking around the world for more vampires because they're curious, is there anybody else out there? Eventually, I think it's France they come to. That's where they come across Stephen Rea. And I want to mention that this movie is directed by Neil Jordan, whom I'm going to talk about with a movie tomorrow. You're probably going to want to check out that review. And Stephen Rea's in that movie also. And I think he's a frequent collaborator of Neil Jordan here. Otherwise, he mostly doesn't seem to get work. Anyhoot, he's a cohort of the, I suppose, vampire leader Antonio Banderas, who walks around all creepy-like. And it should be worth mentioning that I think it was an Entertainment Weekly review from the contemporary day, 94, saying that Antonio Banderas is the hot vampire. Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise are vampires in your vampire movie, and people were thinking that Antonio Banderas was the hot one. That's how hot Antonio Banderas was in 94, guys, in case you don't remember. So he has this play thing going on in this theater, but they capture actual women, and they use this as sort of a way to get by, and they live in these catacombs. But they're upset at Brad Pitt because the idea is that you're not supposed to kill other vampires. So now that's like their number one rule. And he killed Lestat, or so they think he did. Thing is, he doesn't actually seem to be dead. Like, he's kind of, he had a rough go, but he feasted on the alligator that looked like it was eating him, and he lived in the swamp, and he's coming back together. He's slowly gaining some power. But they didn't really kill him. So then I'm kind of confused about why they needed to get rid of Brad Pitt, Kirsten Dunst, and this other random chick. I don't even know where they gave the chick a name. Brad Pitt was going to turn her into a vampire, and I think he barely did, so now he has the power to do that shit. The chick's not even a vampire for an hour. Gets captured along Kirsten Dunst and put in a well where the light's going to shine on them and burn them into a cinder. And now they're just ash. But Antonio Banderas breaks Brad Pitt out, and he's like, what have you guys done? You know, hey, we're sorry we can't save them. But it seemed like an odd thing that why would these guys go and do this stuff if it wasn't under the rules of Antonio Banderas telling them to do it? But Antonio Banderas, never mind. Brad Pitt shows up later, like that night, with a whole bunch of gasoline, I suppose, sets the place on fire, has like a giant Sith, is it? And he's like cutting up shit, and he's fighting the vampires. And then as day turns, he gets rescued in the street by Antonio Banderas, who apparently has a familiar, like this boy that he bites and drinks blood from on occasion, but he's not a vampire, who's like steering the horses around, but they never really talk about what any of this stuff is. And this is a lot of problem when you get a book adaptation, is you leave out a few details that try to make sense out of some shit. Okay, so I'm assuming more of this stuff would have been covered in the book, and over here it's like, oh, it's not too important, so let's not bring it up. Runtime. So he's like, hey, you know, I killed them all, but you seem to want me to do that, huh? You think I'm going to be your number two? No, I'm doing my own shit. I'm going to go back to America. Doesn't kill Antonio Banderas, but just like, hey, I'm going back to America. He talks about missing the sunrise, but he goes to the movie theaters and he sees sunset, sunrise in black and white and eventually color with, he watches Superman and Gone with the Wind, but then he leaves the theater and it's like the 80s because it says Tequila Sunrise. So is he going to the movie theater just to watch stuff that he thinks will have a sunrise in it? Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Comes across Tom Cruise again, who is slowly getting better, but seems really insane. You know, maybe this was when Scientology set in. How long had Tom Cruise been a part of that? I don't know. Anyways, I do gotta say that it was shortly thereafter you catch up to the current time. And it's just like, all right, well, I guess we're done with the interview. And then he sets off, leaves. The guy, Christian Slater, wanted to become a vampire. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. Brad Pitt vanishes, but Christian Slater's got the tapes. He gets out of Dodge, hops into, like, I think it was a Mustang, 60s Mustang, goes down the highway, listens to the tapes, and then, boom, gets attacked by Tom Cruise, who evidently was just in the back seat. I could have sworn I remember a sequence where Tom Cruise flies in, but that doesn't happen. And then I think Tom Cruise bites him in some, and he talks about how he's going to give him the chance to become a vampire. So what's the choice here? Become a vampire or die? You know, some choice here, right? But Tom Cruise is now at full Tom Cruise power. And that's your movie. And it plays out with Guns N' Roses cover that I hadn't really heard of before. It's kind of weird. Was it Sympathy for the Devil, but as Guns N' Roses? Guns N' Roses is 94. When did this right about time breakup and all? This was an okay movie. I mean, I can see how it gets this hype for, like, you know, oh, all the women want to swoon over these guys, and maybe this was the advent of the sexy vampire. Vampires were kind of a thing around this time. 92 had Dracula, Francis Ford Coppola. It wasn't sexy vampire. There were seduction things happening in it. But I think this might have been the first movie to really be like, hey, vampires are hot. How do we get that message across? Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Antonio Banderas. I think that this doesn't make an entire ton of sense here. They play fast and loose with the rules. It drags it a bit. At one point, it seemed like they moved to New York City, but then they're like, oh, hey, let's just walk over to Kirsten Dunst's house and tell her the story of how she died and her mom had the plague. Like, she wouldn't remember that shit. Yeah, I give Interview with the Vampire 2.5 out of 4 stars.